they know how to pull off events here in Japan, and boy, was it another exciting array of fans and fun mid break. Uh, the rain started, as you saw, but all of a sudden it just decided to stop and things cleared up, and this is as bright as it's been throughout the break there. Adrian Michael Rees here alongside Michael Swinnerton, and as you see, it's going to be, I think this could be a good one. We're seeing not is it merit that this reverse grid, the fact that these crown athletes are first and third on the grid alongside one of the Hondas there, and Marius Rustad's Subaru. We'll have to see. The fact that the Mitsubishis are fifth and sixth with no change is not lost on either of us either. But Swinny, what do we reckon? I mean, we can't really predict what's going to happen here, can we?
No, absolutely not. We've seen Ide and Nomura give a good showing in those cars, even though they have, as is evident by the lack of sponsorship, budget's a bit tight. They don't really have the resources to play around with that a lot of the other teams do. But this, race one already threw up how mixed up manufacturers and privateers are. So who knows? Maybe we'll see a privateer win this race. Maybe Rustad Subaru can get a good run off the line and then disappear into the distance. Who knows?
Well, let's see what's going to happen. No doubt it's not far away. Here we go. Very good start from the Mazda Atenza of Nakajima, already up to fifth, swamping both of the Mitsubishis as Nomura and Ide almost take each other out, and it's a chaser team 1-2 in those crown athletes. Something that the Works Gazoo effort are going to be kind of green with envy about. Ingram around the outside, but that's going to be a position back, no doubt. Suzuki, there we go. That was brave for bravery's sake only. The crown athletes are gone, but the traffic behind shows some promise there. Ingram up to fourth. He's on the ball on a roll since the storm up the grid he had, burned from the stern, as it were. Nakano is team at sixth. There's Butcher in seventh. The Nirusai Corolla has fallen back. It's a trait we've seen in both the Worlds and the Euros, that he's slipped back 2 places and not managed to gain anything out of that. Grassi up to 10th. Already, this is going to be nicely on the boil for the next 20 or so minutes. Winterbottom and Degrassi side by side there. Nakajima fallen back to 9th place though, having such a good start. I think the traffic. Let's see what happened there. There's the onboard. There's the other Mazda in the fray for 3. Katayama is the factory effort. You've got Pitsonia further back, but this will be a
this certainly wasn't in the script for Mazda, was it? The privateer Mazda 6 or Mazda Atenza driving past the Works Mazda 3, and then Nakajima lets it go.
Nakano and Butcher had a bit of a differing of opinion on the line for turn 1. Rustad 5th, Ingram 4th. And they start to spread out.
I'm wondering if it's going to be a bit more calm this time round, with less tripping over each other, seeing as everyone's now got a race distance under their car. People now have an idea of what the car is going to do in certain situations which they just wouldn't have had the opportunity to learn in pre-season testing and what have you.
This is smart. I think we were told about this, but I completely overlooked it. It's lap 2, so who's got the fastest lap yet? Well, no one has, because the first lap was still off the line. It wasn't going to be fastest lap at all. We'll see that when the leader crosses the line this time by. Whether that's going to be any different for the World Championship, we'll just have to wait and see. The graphics obviously are going to be consistent, but you know where you are from the type of cars you're seeing. Four-wheel drive is in play here, even though there are some front-wheel drive. There's the oldest Honda in the championship, or in the franchise rather. We're going to see four-wheel drive Mercedes. We're going to see four-wheel drive Mazdas. We're going to see four-wheel drive Genesis,
yeah, one of them.
Genesee. Obviously the Subarus. Then a rear-wheel drive BMW, but it's still propping up the field. Ellen Frenson will be in the Euros as well. She's not only it's not only Ingram doing double duty. There's Ellen right now, but still not.
I think they're just taking this weekend just to take it as a learning opportunity with that BM, because again, it's a brand new team with a brand new car, and we know that M4 has a lot of potential to it. It's just a case of getting Ellen to come to grips with it, and then the race engineers to learn the ins and outs of the car to get a good setup for it.
And no doubt they didn't expect to see a factory Mercedes in front of them this early in the season.
No, absolutely not.
That's going to be something for them to scream about back home if that ever comes to fruition. You see Takahashi's Subaru a bit further back than this. Wide went Ellen Frenson then. That was a bit of an odd one. There's Petsonia in the other Mazda. Nomura and Ide still 1-2.
It's odd that Petsonia is this far back, considering how well Katayama's done with the sister car. I'm sure the team will be really scratching their heads as how they've managed to split the two cars so far apart at opposite ends of the grid. Meanwhile, Nomura, your leader, has just disappeared into another postcode apparently.
That means the fastest lap is going to be beaten again, no doubt. Okay, maybe not, but we're seeing Ide, the most vocal of defenders of the Crown Athlete. There's a reason why he's there. It's not the shoestring budget that's drawn into that team. He wants that project to work regardless, but Suzuki is already ahead of him now. This is where I think we shall see the battle, because that Honda, if it's got ahead of Ide now, purple sector, no doubt, that's going to be a gain on Nomura, whilst Ingram in fourth, Mustad fifth.
Yeah, Suzuki now really needs to concentrate on getting his lines right, getting his braking points right, making sure Ide does not have an opportunity to get back at him, because of course what Ide now wants to do, which he's going to have a look at doing, is defending the lead of his teammate, is what I was going to say before he cut me off by attempting a manoeuvre. And they're still too wide going into the well, it's not the chicane because we're doing the short layout. Round the outside, Ide goes again.
He wants that thing to work regardless. Now we just saw some clouds again. That's all I'm going to say for the time being. Ingram, however, we thought Suzuki was going to be on a gain to get the lead, but I still think it's going to be Ingram if all things are to be considered from race one.
I mean, given what we've seen so far, and granted it's very early days yet into race two, but an all-privateer podium, it's certainly possible.
That's going to be hilarious. Yeah, we do call them privateers. I think that there is so much of a blur, and there's so much support for privateer teams that I don't think there should be a championship. I think that all the teams should have their own points, and well, that's for the Super Touring franchise to decide. And of course, they've still decided that these are privateers, and they will have their own team championship. The manufacturers will have theirs, as you'll see Butcher and the Subaru in their specific championship.
Yeah, this is currently well, not manufacturer first place honours, because Suzuki still has that, but this is going for second place for manufacturers, even if it is for fifth overall. Butcher had a run on him, but has backed off a little bit. I don't know whether that's deliberate or not, or whether the Subaru's just better through the long sweeping corners with its longer
and enough of a
wheelbase.
spread between 6th and 7th as well. You were telling me behind the scenes that this is going to get weird, and you know, I think in terms of these different patterns, I think it already has. I mean, Degrassi's 7th. So that's going to be...
That's kind of incredible, considering how we've seen the Works Volkswagen team in the World Series struggle with that car, and yet here's a privateer showing them how it's done.
And I've accidentally thought that was a four-wheel drive Golf as well. You know, some of them are, but not this one.
No, it's just the standard GTI. It's not an, was it an R32 that the four-wheel drive Golf is?
The right nomenclature, the wrong car. You expect R32 to be on a Skyline, and even they aren't allowed in this championship. Too old.
Yeah, several years out of date. Although it would be interesting to see a modern car go up, one of these modern cars go up against the finest Group A machine ever to exist.
I think the Mitsubishi's in with a shout, no doubt. Give them the right team in. That Genesis is in the top 10. The elderly Honda actually making a good name for itself, even if it's in the top 5 of the bottom 5.
Just
Worked
outside the points now, thanks to Pitsonia, but still, that's... Just because it's at the back doesn't mean that's terrible. I mean, we know that that team bought that car because it was cheap, because of its age. And they're doing that to prepare themselves for, you know, the following seasons of this championship. And they're using this year as a learning year. Because a lot of the people in that team are new to racing as a whole.
Whereas the guys behind them, Mercedes, doesn't even need repeating that. They're being outdone by a bunch of rookies. The drivers might not have the experience, but the team should. And the team, horrible as it sounds, they should know better. Where, I mean, we've asked the question of like when BMW weren't doing well in the Worlds. This is already I mean, you mentioned it in the first race, it's a bad start. This is just a bad decision. Harsh to say it, and you know, sorry about this, Mercedes fans. This has been a bad decision that they're committing to. There's no way out of this. They've got to commit to the entire season on this.
I mean, there's every chance that they find what's wrong with the car and fix it, and it might just be a small setup issue, and they come alive over the latter course of the year. But they are really giving themselves a lot of work to do here, considering this is looking like being a non-points scoring round for the entire Mercedes outfit.
So whilst it's a privateer BMW behind them, it's a privateer Golf and a front-wheel drive one at that ahead of them. It does not compute.
No, it really doesn't. And there goes friends around the outside.
Is it going to happen? This is for the Japanese equivalent of the wooden spoon. But it's still only slight relief to AMG. Nomura and Ide are putting Gazoo to shame right now. They have got this thing turned up for the second race.
Talk about the opposite side of the coin from the Mercedes story of a manufacturer not doing anywhere near as well as we think they should. Here's a privateer showing everybody up.
I think the fortitude, the gumption of Ide being there has spurred everyone on in that team to do as good a job as they can with the material that's been given to them, because those cars in Toyota's hands had moments. They were good. It looks like whatever this team are doing, they've got the experience around here, so they know what's up. They've managed to do that. I think what we have to sort of define here, it's not works and privateer. It's experience versus no experience.
Oh, For sure, especially in this inaugural season where, you know, a lot of these cars have only turned wheels in anger in testing and what have you. And until today, didn't really have a proper race under their belt.
That being said, the experience, the theory of experience can just be smashed against the wall if you've got Degrassi's Volkswagen in 7th. Things have gotten weird.
Things have indeed gotten weird.
We're past halfway, and Nomura still with the fastest lap, which, considering these runners, is nearly 2 to 3 seconds faster than anyone was seeing right now. Muto, hairpin corner on board.
Now this is an interesting battle, this one, because you've got the Genesis, which has one of the biggest, most complicated gearboxes on the grid, and it's got 8 gears, compared to the Mitsubishi, which only has 5.
You'd think the Genesis would be accelerating better then.
Well, I think what they've done is geared the thing deliberately short to allow for better traction in the corners, so you can be in a higher gear. So instead of being, like the Mitsubishi will be in 2nd gear for pretty much all of this complex. The Genesis will be doing it in these corners in either 3rd or 4th gear, depending on how the ratios are set up, just to allow for better traction coming out the corners. They can put their foot down that little bit earlier.
Wow. Better traction, you just saw it right there. You saw Nakano having to glimpse in the mirrors from that camera shot. He's doing it again, look. Here comes Muto.
Once that Genesis gets going, it is a bit of a freight train.
So, is it going to break earlier than...
Here comes Nakano back on the inside. Not going to let this one go anytime soon. They're going to stay too wide all the way down to turn 2 now.
And it's not like Mitsubishi going to be bad with brakes. We've got Narusai down to 13th, race 1 winner. And this is where, you know, if this was what it was like for race 1, you know, just like this is just as bad as Mercedes, where they are. The Gazoo Racing in 13th place. That's going to be a head scratcher for Gazoo Racing at the very least.
This was always going to be my concern, is we knew how, you know, quick the Toyota was on paper, and then it proved it in race 1, but once again, it doesn't have any time in traffic, it doesn't have any experience dealing with cars around it, which it didn't have to do in race 1. So this was the thing I was interested to see come race 2, is what can a Toyota Corolla do in the midfield, and how well can it navigate the traffic? And Butcher's doing all right, considering he's in 6th right now.
He's 6th, yeah.
And
but
sort of holding up the line from Degrassi and Katayama there.
Still, that's 6th. This is a factory effort. There's a Subaru in front, fair enough, but that's an inexperienced Norwegian at the wheel. You got Ingram, second, well, privateer Mitsubishi with works backing. Not a local driver either. And then top 3, well, apart from Suzuki's Honda, it just stems back, you know, it comes back to the mantra for this particular race. It's got weird. And there's Winterbottom.
It's just a lot of learning curves going on. They're all very different gradients to each other.
Nakajima and Muto having a bit of a battle.
Yeah, Nakano's lost out there. He was in front of them, and now he's back here in 12th with Naruse all over the back of him, who looks like he's going to make it stick. It's these two again. Just like race 1, only 10 places lower this time.
R. Here's the hairpin. There's Muto down the inside of Nakajima, but not enough of a move.
Just tripping over each other again. And then they'll all spread out as they go down the hill. Butcher now being the head of this train quite comfortably. In theory, Butcher should pull away from Degrassi a little bit through the tight, twisty stuff coming back up the hill here. It'll be interesting to see what the relative speeds are at the start-finish line, though, compared to these two cars. Although, having said that, Butcher is now catching Rustad, so this train is now about to have a Subaru locomotive at the front of it.
Still fairly static in the top 7, top 8 maybe. The spread is definitely there. Is it going to be, I mean, it is early days. Would the franchise flinch and put Bop in this early, do you reckon?
That's a difficult one to answer. Oh, that was a lot of entry speed.
That's going to impact the front wheel drive on that Golf.
Yeah.
Even though it looks
she
very
needs to be
clean
careful
on the
doing
exit.
that sort of stuff. You don't want to go bending the steering rack.
Plenty of time for round 2 though, by the end of it. 2.5 to go.
Nakano is falling further back. Rusey's gotten around him, and here comes Pitsonia in the works Mazda. Nakano's not careful, he might end up with a non-point score this race. Which, considering he got the pole, it's not the way you want to end a weekend.
Single solitary point for Jack Scaife. Dunlop turn, enough of a gap there, but the Team Yuasa Honda still holding up the back of the pack, including one factory Subaru, Takahashi Subaru nonetheless as well. I think a lot of the hardcore Subaruists were expecting him to be higher up, but not as much we were expecting. That's effectively last place for Mercedes, it has to be said.
Well, it's a non-points finish, so it's
non-points, yeah. And you still got Frentzen trying to fight for not last place. Ide, we're about to see where he is. He's still clinging on to second place there.
Suzuki's caught him quite a bit though. Don't know if he'll have enough race left to actually make anything of it, but certainly worth a go. I wonder if this is Ide deliberately backing off to give Nomura the space, just to really ensure that 1-2 finish that he's after here.
I reckon Ide wants that to happen. I mean, no doubt he'll want the win for himself, but I think he's recognised that Nomura has got the best out of that car this weekend, and therefore perhaps should deserve it. We'll have to ask him, and through translation later. As fluent as he can be in English, I think I'm going to ask that in Japanese just to get the right answer out of him.
Through the complex, up the hill they go.
Rear wheel drive versus front wheel drive, so 4-wheel drive hasn't had it all their own way for this particular race, even though Ingram's in 4th. I was expecting that Mitsubishi to be a lot closer by the time we crossed the start-finish line one more time. But that's still a very good run from Ingram, all things considered.
Oh, for sure. And as I say, this is his first weekend racing a 4-wheel drive car, so this will be a nice little confidence boost to him to show that he actually does have multiple strings to his bow.
Well, Suzuki, we expected Suzuki to take a dive down the inside then. Planning that for later on the lap so we can get second place later perhaps. But stagnant at the front, traffic in the midfield. But this is nicely tense for completing the last lap. Nomura, they're all still taking over. No problems to be heard on the audio here. Rustad and Butcher are being freight train 1 and freight train 2 to the wagons behind them, especially the wagon behind them, quite literally. 7th place throughout for De Grassi. That's been a very good run indeed. And I think one of the Mercedes has finally got some more places, but not enough to get a point out of the affair. Next corner and Panasonic to go for the leaders. We know that Fuji can pull this event off, but obviously this is a new experience for everyone and a very successful debut weekend for Japanese Super Touring action. And what a day for Ide, who has backed this crown athlete to the hilt. His teammate Ukyo Nomura and Ide himself are about to eclipse in total points. They've now bagged more points than Gazoo have for this weekend. Regardless of what anyone says about privateer teams and manufacturer teams, they've managed to score more points anyway, and that's going to be enough of a bragging right throughout the paddock, throughout the Japanese motorsport news world, as the rest of the field string through. Naruse 12th, Butcher was 6th. I don't think they expected that. And there goes Schumacher, finally, a point for Mercedes against one of the oldest super touring cars in the field. Not news to shout about, but news nonetheless. And, well, what can we say? But, we've said it for the first of the European rounds. What a weekend it's been.
Yeah, that got weird, all right. That I mean, it's very refreshing to see privateers mixing it up with the manufacturers. I do think this is a product of this is a new championship with a lot of new teams. So enjoy the weirdness while it lasts, I think.
And I think the motto or the themes for this championship are going to be experience over inexperience compared to privateers and factory efforts. So the only underdogs are going to be the inexperienced, and that's why you're seeing such a positive response or a positive result for the Chaser Motorsports team running the second hand, so to speak, Crown athletes as if they were factory efforts on the budget that they've got. That's going to be good news going into the second weekend, and I cannot wait to see what happens. This is Adrian Michael Rees, and on behalf of Michael Swinnerton, we'll see you then. Good racing, everyone.